Dark, TY, Cure, Hero. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023, GSL Season 2.
Hello everybody, we are back and we're ready to go into Cure vs. Dark. It's been kind of a quick set of matches here. I'm hoping we get a little bit more of a back and forth. I think if there were two players who could give us a more dramatic, more developed series, it would be these two. Cure hungry to be that third Terran in the Final Four. Dark hoping to be the first Zerg we get.
Yeah, I think this should be a very good match. Cure right now, his form is looking so good, not just in TVP, but basically all aspects of his game, whereas Dark, he's thirsty to come back and try and contest the top 4 here in GSL. Somebody that's been championship caliber for, what feels like the majority of their StarCraft 2 career now coming in. And they didn't have the success they wanted in the first season of GSL this year. Now here in the second season, trying to make a breakaway as Zerg's been really struggling here against Terran.
All right, guys, Cure vs. Dark starts now. Again, the winner goes on to the Final Four here in the GSL Codex.
GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. DKZ Gaming, Dark.
I wonder whether we're going to see Battle Mech from Cure in this series. I feel like it's something that he might whip out.
Yeah, and also we got to point out, like, the games that Dark had versus TY, like, that doesn't really show us what he's got in the matchup. TY was beat out so fast, it was almost like the matchup never really picked up. TVZ is normally the longest matchup in the game right now, and usually it really is a big tug of war in the middle of the map, and one where, like, although Zergs and Terrans both can be killed outright into mid-game and before late game, a lot of times, dude, it's such a good drawing, man. It's so clearly Dark. But a lot of times it really kind of becomes this positional game of, like, who can actually secure the last couple bases. And with these two guys, I think that's what we'll probably have. By the way, Cure is taking a page out of Bjorn's playbook here.
Yeah, he's going for the 2 barracks on the low ground. Probably going to be that 3 Reaper expand that we've seen Bjorn use to really good success in the TVZ matchup over this entire year, not just here in GSL Season 2, but in Season 1 as well. He was talking about this in interviews, saying that he thinks it's going to be the future of TVZ for Terran. He thinks it's going to become meta. And that prediction has slowly but surely become true. We're seeing more and more Terrans try this opening out. It's becoming more popularized here in Korea. And it's fun to see. I like the mix-up. It definitely feels like it's a more interesting early game than what we had before from Terrans.
It's cool, and what's funny about it, it's not like it's the craziest opening, right? But when you see it play out, it's like, no, I like this actually a lot. It's a little bit different from the 1 Reaper play. It kind of forces the Zerg to be a little bit more on guard. A lot of times we see the drone is hidden, so the third can get up, but this time the third is already started here. So Dark, a little bit of a different approach from Solar, where the third gets up later, but he hides the drone. Dark just makes sure to get it up and started, because Reapers just are not good versus buildings. It's very rare to ever see Reapers actually kill a building. I mean, they're chucking nades at this, they're firing shots.
Yeah, they just don't have the DPS to really shell it down, but they are mitigating the HP growth of the hatchery as it continues to complete, and this is something that could reach a boiling point later on in the game if Cure decides to fixate on this section of the map as part of his game plan. I mean, how many pushes have we seen from Terrans over the course of this GSL where, the third hatchery survives with maybe 25% or less HP, and now it's nearly completed. It's at 75%. It only has 150 hit points, Tasteless.
Yeah, what is happening right now? I mean, this is kind of wild.
On top of that, these queens, you know, they have 25 plus energy. They are not planting tumors. They're not injecting. They're not fulfilling the economic or macro focused role that Dark would love them to. And instead, I mean, that hatchery, it's completed now and it is bleeding. Something awful.
Yeah, now he's driven the Reapers back here. He can go in here and try to catch this. You can see that Cure's very cautious. He's only sending one up just in case there's the risk of the overextension, which he does shut down. Stim is going to be a little bit under halfway to completion.
Yeah, and behind this, Kira's going for a really fast third command center and equally fast double engineering bay.
Yeah, I really like this. This is looking very, very strong. Remember, I mean, you know, this has been a year where we've seen Zergs really get bullied after years of Zergs mostly just kind of defend and deflect and then outgrow and get to the point of the game where the Terran, you know, they have to win in that exhaust play game where it's like, okay, well, who's going to mine out more of the map in a more efficient manner before, you know, most of this map is dried up and there are no more resource nodes left here. So the third hatchery, you know, it's been mining for a while now, but we want to watch for that fourth because Cure is getting into a position where he's going to be really powered up. He's going to have a lot of muscle on the map. He's going to have 1-1 done. And I want to see what that push is going to look like and where exactly that fourth base is. Is there going to expand all the way into the top right? Is he going to take that triangle base or maybe the base closer towards 6 o'clock?
Yeah, but it's going to take a while for Cure to actually reach his full potential, considering that he didn't throw that factory down until, you know, about 4 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. He went 2 barracks, 3 CC, double engineering bay, and only after starting 1-1 did he begin that factory production. So in terms of tech here for Cure and also barracks infrastructure, he's just invested so much, so many resources into upgrading this army that it will take him a little while to get going, but once he does, it's going to be a very scary force for Dark to deal with. And one of the benefits of this build that Beyond has popularized at 2 barracks on the low ground is that it's very hard for Zerg to get a good idea of what Terran is doing in their base. You see how many Lings Dark has made. It basically looks like a Baneling bust with how many Lings he's created, but this is part of Dark having to kind of play safe against Cure. You know, Cure could have gone 4 barracks behind this and just gotten +1 and stim and gone for a really big push, and in that case, the faster Baneling nest, this really high number of Zerglings, it would have been very beneficial for Dark, but instead, Cure doing the opposite. Just playing so focused on macro, now throwing down 3 more barracks, starting his 2-2 at the 6 minute and 10-second mark. I think it's the fastest 2-2 upgrade we've seen from Terran this entire GSL.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, I was thinking about 1-1, but really 2-2 is probably where you actually want to hit. The third base is only just now kicking in yet, so there's going to be a lot of momentum here. He's
going to have 2-2 finish when 1-1 finishes for Zerg. So he's basically locked in for the remainder of the game up until you reach 3-3, a 1 upgrade advantage.
And that's pretty wild. And by the way, the Zerg is taking the top right. And so I think top right it's one of the harder bases to push for Zerg, but for Terran, but the Zerg is also kind of far from it. This is going to be a wild mid-game as we're finally kind of getting to that moment.
Yeah, first push now coming out for Cure. Up until this point, Dark's been able to spend his, or spread his creep, I should say, pretty much undisturbed. And Cure's going to want to start to corral it a little bit back on a Dark's corner of the map so that he can make room for future pushes. Those first 2 Timbers in the front getting taken down. Sees a lot of Zerglings. Dark, to this point, has played a pretty drone-light play style, and tasteless. Okay, this does get spotted. Nice wall in there from Cure. But Dark's still sitting at only 66 drones. Now he's building a good number more, but he really leaned heavily into powering up with the units in this mid game.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder whether that's going to come back and bite him because, you know, Cure has just been investing in upgrading his army this entire time and also mixing in Hellbats.
Yeah, it seems like Dark's been a little bit more ready for something that never actually came.
Yeah, we're doing this with no siege tanks, Tasteless. There's not a siege tank on the map. He's just pumping Hellbats.
I'm glad you're pointing that out. This is a very different approach, and the idea, I believe, is that you basically let the Hellbats just kind of soak and kill off the Banes and micro very, very well. But it's a different style of push, right? I mean, you know, you see pushes with Widow Mines, or sometimes there's like Tanks and Liberators. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but this is really just like, I'm going to stim in micro, and I'm going to have these Hellbats soak, and then we're just going to try to swing this advantage here with 2-2.
All right, Cure's coming in now.
Look at the Marauder
could be
spread.
the 5th base.
Marauders there to soak as well. That's the idea. It's like I'm just going to have such a beefy army. I'm going to have such a spread that there's really nothing your Banes can do, and there's no way that you can actually distribute the damage. Notice he just pulls away the Marines here. He gets just far back. Oh my God.
Goodness. That micro from Cure is unbelievable right now, as most of the Banelings have been spent behind this, start going into Mutalisks. But there's so much bio knocking at his front door. You got to think the Mutas on Cure's side of the map, they're not going to be able to get enough done.
Yeah, I mean, the Mutas are going to come in here and kill workers, but what about the reality of the fact that there's so much infantry here that is just obliterating all of your tech and your bases?
This is such a cool build coming out from Cure.
I love it, dude. I'm totally inspired.
I don't see any way Dark's going to be able to break this position. More Banelings now rolling in from the main base. It seems like Dark is just kind of scrambling to try to get control of this, but there's so much units.
Dude, Cure looks
all these
so good
Hellbats,
sometimes.
GG.
Sometimes it looks like he is the best Terran in the world, man. It's actually crazy.
What a build that was.
What a crazy build. That was really interesting.
Again, I don't want to completely rehash it, but just going 2 barracks, 3 CC, double engineering bay, and then factory. He had 2-2 finish when 1-1 finished for Zerg.
Yeah.
Made no siege tanks. Didn't really do any harassment. Even kept the Reapers alive to go for that push and, you know, add in grenades to that mix. And he pushes, what, 4-6 Hellbats and one of the largest bio armies that we've basically seen.
And just enough Marauders that are all kind of spread out to the point where, like, it's really hard to kind of right-click through an A move. You know, the odds of a Baneling being magnetically kind of pulled into a Marauder is so high. And I mean, Cure just sort of, I mean, that was a dumpstering I've just never seen on a player like Dark.
Yeah, that was
Dark
awesome.
never loses games like that, ever. You go back 5 years, you'd find one game that looked like that where Dark lost. That's insane. Anyways, guys, Royal Blood, we're going to go to game number 2.
2023 GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. DKZ Gaming, Dark.
And once again from Cure, barracks on the low ground. And I'm still reeling from that build that we saw from him in that previous game. That was so cool. I haven't seen a push like that from a Korean Terran. And I don't know if I've ever seen it, actually. That 2-2 timing with a Hellbats.
Well, that was, you know, it's funny. When that's the last Zerg left, right? And, you know, a GSL championship is just around the corner. You only have to bring out the absolute best builds, right? And that was clearly one of them. And you could see, by the way, you know, Dark was kind of ready for something that never came. Cure was buttoned up pretty tight. I don't think Dark had a lot of intel on what's going on. And so, yeah, I mean, the push came out and Dark's just like, oh my God, what is this? It was such an overwhelming amount of infantry. Like, you think of all the TVZs you've ever seen and how often it's like one side barely wins and there's like a few things left. Sometimes workers are pulled, or the Terran is, you know, they win, but it's like really 6 Marines and no tank and a medevac, and it's like some reinforcements come, but then the next round of Lings drives it away. Like how close it is so many times. And then you have a situation like that where it's like, of all people, Dark, who's kind of the master of the balancing act as the defender Zerg, loses that fight, and there is something like 30 some odd units for Terran just there. And a huge wave, a tidal wave of units about to come in to reinforce. I mean, that is wild.
And a lot of that goes back to the fact that Cure played so greedy, and Dark was really left wondering what he was doing on his side of the map. Dark was playing a low drone style for the majority of that game, was sitting at around, you know, a 3-base economy of 66 drones, although he expanded beyond that point. Meanwhile, Cure, you know, sitting happily on 3 orbital commands, going for those double engineering bases, was able to get so much done. And it also makes me wonder whether Dark felt like he had to play that very safe, conservative style because of how much damage the Reapers got done on the 3rd hat tree. You know, what if Cure actually opted to go for a really aggressive play and then he focused on that third hatch, which was at like 25% HP when it was completed. So really, everything just synergizing so well for Cure in that first game.
Tech Lab gonna finish up over here. We still got these 3 Reapers. I was gonna say maybe he tries to get that weaker Queen. Probably not gonna happen. It's just a little bit too much HP.
A similar build, but a different one here for Cure, going for Factory and then the third command center. So not quite as greedy as the previous game. No double engineering bay as well, so definitely going to be a different build coming out from him. Man, Cure wants that Queen.
Man. Well, I mean, so far so good here with these Reapers. How much of Game 1 is going to show up here in Game 2 is what I'm wondering.
It's hard to say. It's certainly a different build from Cure. He's going to have a different game plan, probably a different... what is
Get
his Marine
back out of
doing?
here. This is Reapers only. Every once in a while we have a bad rally. He's getting his steps in.
Yeah, he is.
He's got his steps in.
He's got a little Fitbit on his
check
wrist.
his phone. He's like, well, I did all my steps I did for the whole game.
Dark scouting with this
This is-
Overlord. Like,
yeah.
what is the play with this
going on?
Marine?
Yeah. That happens to me so much. We're like,
Oh.
I'm playing a game and I'm like, what are you doing here?
Nice surround from Dark coming in. See, actually, oh, he's going to be able to get 2 of them. Okay. It looked like those Reapers were like greased up or something at first. The Lings weren't able to get the surround. So Dark is already making an adjustment from the previous game. I think he's looking at game number 1 and he's saying, okay, I got blindsided by my opponent going for some insane greed. 3rd CC and double engineering bay before Factory. They powered up with more units than Terran should reasonably be able to get at that stage in the game. How am I going to plan for that here in match number 2? He's going for really fast Overlord speed. So
Yeah.
Dark is going to be getting some scouting intel. He's not going to be caught off guard again. And this Overlord coming into the main base now, we'll be able to see that Cure is going for Cloak Banshee. It is a different build. And Dark back at home should be able to get into a nice defensive setup for this. Although I say that and actually don't know how much that Overlord saw. Okay, did see the starport.
So, you know, Dark in this game, he can't have the same kind of game he had in the last one. But the double eBay is coming. We don't have a single tank out yet. Did we have a Banshee with Cloak last game? I don't think we did,
No,
right?
no.
Okay, I didn't think so.
The tech was so late last game. And I think the only real units we had was like 6 medevacs and maybe 6 Hellats that were with the bio push at the front.
Another barracks is coming down.
I would imagine that 3 more
It's funny.
will get added here for Cure.
Banshee kind of used like an Oracle in PvZ where it's like,
Yeah.
it could just sort of chase away the Lings. It's not great for Lings, but it does kill them fast enough. It looks like he wants to look for places to hit. Now, this is a 5-base expo, by the way, for the Zerg. So a little bit of a different kind of rhythm to this.
Yeah, but Dark always loves to play this style. He likes to get a macro hatch as well. He just likes to play this high larva style where he can really lean into the Lings and the Banelings should he desire to do that. This is going to be a 6th hatchery coming up here in the main base, right next to the lair. And Cure just continuing to power up back at home. Again, not as greedy as he was in game number 1. And Dark also playing a little bit more conservatively than he did previously as well. Perhaps identifying that, you know, Cure is probably not going to do the same greed twice, especially with a check here on these Banshees. Hydralisk Den coming out from Dark.
So
okay.
we got a Baneling drop here.
Oh, it's a Baneling drop.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And
a
so-
double Baneling drop.
It's a double Baneling drop. Let's see if we can actually get some real hits here. I mean, this is happening right when the push comes out. So, like, I mean, if he could just get the kills on the workers, I mean, that's going to be insane.
He might wait. He might wait until the engagement comes in. We'll see. All right, instead, just going to send the Overlords in now. Is Cure paying attention? SEV is not selected.
Oh, my God, he's not looking. Oh, my God.
Oh, into the main base, too. He's not looking there either. 16 SEVs in total going down. Dark just has to defend now.
Yeah.
Baneling speed already done as well.
1-1 going to finish here for the Terran, but does it actually matter at all?
Really nice play there from Cure. Or from Dark, excuse me. Cure right now about to have 1-1, or Dark about to have 1-1 finish. I keep getting these 2 players mixed up for whatever reason. You know, this base, if it goes down, it's not that big of a deal for Dark. Keep in mind, he is sitting on 6 hatcheries, now going down to 5 with that hatchery falling. It's not the end of the world. And the drops are going to continue here. We have 7 Lings coming into the main base. It looks like more Lings are going to be going into the natural expansion as well, as Dark is trying to cause all sorts of problems in the main base of Cure right now. He knows that he has an economic lead after those units got taken out, and now Cure going to try and siege the main base a little bit here. Maybe only 1 siege tank there in the front, though. Not sure how much he's actually going to be able to get done. That's a lot of units here from Zerg.
And, I mean, I don't know what this is going to do. I mean, the problem is Cure, like, I mean, the Zerg has so much going for him right now. The macro is so good. I love the depot wall, by the way. But there's so many hiders out here. Oh, my God!
And Cure not paying attention again. 6 more SCVs get taken out as Dark is everywhere with these Banelings.
All right, well, he's going to finally kill that drop. But, you know, I mean, so much of these games is hinged on the Terran trying to do what he can with the first push. We kind of let the dust settle and see where the game goes. That was so much economic damage. I don't think the Dark is going to have the same kind of issues any normal Zerg would have against a player of Cure's caliber, just because of the way the economy was beat up so much there by those drops.
It was a ton of SCV kills, and also the attack for Cure really didn't get too much done. Dark basically double expanded. One of them got taken out, and it doesn't impact his economy much at all. You know, he's retaking this expansion now. He's not in any rush really to get it going. Probably going to be happy to just cancel this and rebuild it. And for Dark, sitting on 80 workers, he can really just power up with units, and you can see him pumping out more Lings. Might even add more Hydralisks into the fray and taking up the Hive. He's in a very comfortable position. And now if you're Cure and you're thinking about your win conditions now in this section of the game, I mean, you have to do something to slow down the Zerg, but also you really just need to survive, because now that Dark is reaching maxed, and these past couple of engagements have gone quite well for him, especially the drops in the main base and the natural there for Cure, he's going to start building a bank, and he's just going to be throwing armies at you as Terran.
Yeah. I mean, this is one I think Dark can definitely close out. Dark definitely got to the point where he wanted to be here. He might want to get another base or two up in a second. Terran's going to be on the move, taking their 4th base and probably pushing out pretty soon here. Is Cure going to be able to actually make stuff happen with how much damage he took earlier on?
It's going to be challenging. I mean, Dark just is firing all cylinders right now. Sensor Tower also gets taken out. That will have to be rebuilt.
Okay, pretty bad exchange there for the Banelings. The counterattack doesn't do much. The CC just lands over at 12 o'clock.
Changeling actually blocking it right now.
Oh, yeah, look at that. And the push is going to be inbound. What can Cure do? How good can his control actually be?
And this is a good timing for Cure to be pushing out right now, because Adrenal Glands, it is not yet done. There are no Vipers on the field just yet, despite Hive finishing up. So this is a moment of vulnerability for Dark that, you know, you're not going to get very many of those, but Dark trying to catch Cure. Sleeping actually coming in with a basically 270-degree surround. Things get a really nice connection there with a lot of those siege tanks. Only 1 remains. And Dark just able to instantly re-max here. 2 Vipers now in production, more Banelings, and 58 Lings underway.
Yeah, a huge amount of Banelings just now hatching. Not a ton of tanks. He could try to spread them out. He could try to start taking fights, but this is just looking more and more like one of those games here where Zerg is kind of in the spot they were trying to get to the whole time.
Especially once Adrenal Glands finishes here for Zerg, and those Vipers have enough energy to blinding cloud these tanks.
All right, so he gets the first few hits off. He's going to get in range and put pressure, start hitting the hatchery. Dark needs to figure out how to buy time. Did Cure pull too far inside here?
He might have. It looked like he might have move commanded on the mineral line instead of right-clicking that hatchery, as those Marines were really far forward.
I gotta say, Cure's control has been really good.
Yeah, but with Adrenal Glands about to finish up, this is the moment Dark has been waiting for, especially with these 2 Vipers now with high energy. Attacks coming in on the medevacs, have to disperse. First blinding cloud pops on the siege tank in the front.
You know, I mean, he's still chasing him back. The supplies are looking a little bit dire. More Banes are morphing. If you could get tanks more into range of that, that could be huge.
It was a pretty good engagement there for Cure, all things considered. You know, you would think with Adrenal Glands and the Viper energy that Dark had saved up, that would go a little bit better for him, but Cure with some really nice micros pulling back far off of creep. Question is, can his economy actually sustain this? Well, maybe it can. More Banelings and Hydras coming in. There isn't much of a front line here, as Dark's just going to commit to the counterattack instead. Cure is actually making this work. Keep in mind, Cure does have the upgrade advantage right now, 3-3 to the 2-2 of Dark.
I mean, the Banes keep coming in here. The problem is like, well, I guess actually in this last attack, okay, I think he is going to break this position. Well, I spoke too soon. It feels like every time it's just enough, right?
And there just aren't enough Lings here assisting this army to actually shell everything down. You know, the Hydralisks, once they lose that buffer in front of them, also nice focus fire on those medevacs,
so
by the way.
This tank has gotten so much value, the one that's almost dead. Some transfuses here on the hatchery to try to give it a little bit more sustain.
And now the medevac count's getting really low. Only 3 medevacs actually on the field right now. 2 of them very badly injured as well.
And when supplies were neck and neck, it was hard to call, but we see that, you know, Cure has chunked out a big amount of supply and is now hurting. On this map, by the way, you can kind of see it almost like layers of a cake from the bottom. The Zerg can really, that's the first bottom layer. I don't think we're going to have any bases that are going to be threatened there. It's really layer 2, the one that's here and then on the far right side of the map from this position. And everything up from there that's going to be hard for Zerg to take. So although I think Dark's had a much healthier position and it's been a harder game for Cure, Cure may end up with a pretty good layup in the late game.
That depot's got to that depot has to go down, man. It's a lot of siege tanks not in the fight.
They can't.
Oh, it's the 4th one. He's got to lower the depot.
Yeah, he just doesn't know.
Oh.
It did seem like the tank count was getting kind of weirdly low, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine there were 4 more tanks here and all these Banelings are being shot by everything.
Oh, that hurts there for Cure. These kind of unforced errors can come back to haunt you, and he still has no idea.
Ah!
Eventually, you have to be wondering where your siege tanks are, right?
They're fighting too. Let us out!
Looks like they're trying to like grind the front off the tank so it can fit between the depot and the tech lab. Oh, God, 5 siege tanks. You got to know, Cure. Soon going to be 6. I can hear the Kreencasters losing their minds over this.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the only siege tanks on the map right now. All 6 of them here. Okay,
yes.
Finally, depot. Crisis averted.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was painful.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's see what the push looks like now because, you know, with these attacks that you're doing, the idea is that the tanks are going to hit so many Banes and you can run back and the tanks can kind of soak up damage at the same time too. That's what allows you to basically shell these bases and do a pretty good job.
I almost feel like Dark is about to get whiplash going from 0 siege tank counts like 8.
I know.
Carry's like, wait, what?
Watch, he wins.
What?
He like wins the next 4 minutes. You're like, oh, okay, right. Yeah, how many tanks in this game now? I missed it when they showed it on.
I think
here.
we have 8 now.
Okay.
It's 2 factory siege tank in production, so yeah, 8 tanks in total. And Dark's going for a really big drop.
Yeah,
wow.
not bad. We don't see this that often.
This might as well be a Nidus War.
I know. This is like a StarCraft 1 drop over here.
Those are Adrenal Lings. Those are going to absolutely tear through the infrastructure of the main base. The entire army for Cure is right now at that 4th. It's a lot of infrastructure about to get taken out.
Yeah, I mean, this is really annoying right now for Cure. And remember that the attack in the front, the one we're seeing right here,
no.
yeah. Tanks with no Marines to defend them are going to fall pretty damn easily.
And that tank count quickly got reset there.
He didn't get as many barracks as I thought, by the way.
He got a good number of depots. Cure now is sitting at a 171 supply. The damage was quite widespread, but still.
Looks like 2 more depots are going to burn down as well.
This Queen's in kind of a funky position to be able to catch that medevac. You know, Curie's been doing a great job of trying to stabilize back at home, but it does feel like Dark is consistently 1 step ahead. He just hasn't been able to muster the army to go for that killing blow, but with 120 Lings on the field now and a lot of Banelings being morphed, you gotta think that we might be reaching that point. 32 Banelings. Tasteless.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Banelings.
It's a lot, man. Cure is definitely up on the ropes here. If Dark can, you know, finish him off by taking out the next couple of bases and thinning out that army, that's probably going to be game, and we'll be moving on into game 3 here.
Well, these get caught. Oh, those poor unlucky Marines. Could not make their way to the medevac, and you know, now Dark sitting at max supply, 2,000 minerals in the bank, 1,000 gas. He's going to be itching for a fight, and for reaching that moment now, Tasteless. Zerg flooding in to this 4th base and also the 3rd, as that planetary surely will get taken out. In fact, both these bases just getting obliterated by Banelings. 48 SCVs destroyed, as Cure basically has no economy left now. He's at 2 orbital commands.
I mean, this is over, dude. This is Terran on 2 bases right now, trying to retake the 3rd. The Zerg is maxed out with 76 workers mining, sucking up every resource that they can on the map. And you have to imagine a Terran that barely has any functional economy at all. The push can be cleaned up and the 3rd base can be smashed once more.
And Cure's sitting at 100 army supply, so he's just going to push. That's kind of a Hail Mary play here, but Dark is just too powerful. So we'll get cleaned up with the Baneling connections on the left side. We're going 1-1.
Thank God.
That's been
I
a quick
wanted to
day.
get a 3rd game in our best of 3. Definitely went better for Dark. Too bad to see those tanks get stuck, but I think there was a lot more to the story than that.
I think even if those tanks were in the front line, Dark is walking away with a victory in this game, as he felt like, it seemed like from the Baneling drops hitting the main base in the natural, he was just not going to relent on the momentum there.
Yeah, I think so.
Cure did a very good job of fighting back despite that economic damage he sustained early from those drops. I mean, keep in mind, those were 2 drops in the main base and the natural expansion that basically got maximum damage done. Terran didn't really react. There was no SCV splitting. A ton of SCVs fell, and Cure still able to stabilize and put up a fight for the remaining 10 minutes. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with. You got to wonder what he's going to do here in game number 3. Should he be able to avoid a catastrophe like that when to start the game?
2023 GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. DKZ Gaming, Dark.
All right. Match point now between Cure and Dark. One of these players about to book their ticket to the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of rooting for Dark here. I just want to have a couple different possible finals, or matchups for the finals is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, what I think Cure did in game 1 was really cool. In game 2, it did seem like Dark has kind of gotten more on top, kind of a little bit more aware of how Cure is going to approach this. Cure does have a pretty wide range, and I think he's just a pretty solid Terran in general. I think this could go either way. It has been Dark being pretty passive. That does seem to be, or at least it had been the trend for a while in the matchup, is that the Zerg doesn't really have to act as quickly. They just have to kind of keep an eye on the Terran and try to make the necessary steps to stay ahead. But I would be very welcome to the idea of Dark trying to do something aggressive early on. He kind of played like that versus TY, but there may be reasons we can't be privy to about why he does. He might just know like TY just dies if you attack him early, and it's an easier way to play the game. Where against a player he might have a little bit more respect for, so to speak, like Cure, who is generally viewed as more of a threat. He has a whole other way of handling the matchup.
Yeah, it seems like Dark is going to be passive once again here in this game. Just going for the Queens, some Lings back at home. Not the 2 barracks on the low ground expansion build from Cure this time. Instead, just going to be taking up very quickly. And for a second, I was wondering about the rally point on that drone, but no, just instead going to go to 3rd base. Plan that hatchery down. All right.
Peak StarCraft, man.
Is he going to get that Ling?
Put that one in the highlight reel. So that's a crazy third CC.
Oh, wow. Is this... Does Kira think he's playing Protoss?
This is one of the 7 deadly sins, man. This is greed. This is crazy. Third command center out there.
Yeah, on
this
the
is
low
like
ground.
what you do to your neighbor kid friend who's not played the game yet. You're like, well,
This is
he's
like
not
what
gonna know how
Hero...
to stop this.
This is what like Hero would try to do if he was a Terran player. He'd be like,
Yeah.
I'll just make a Cloak Banshee. It's,
Yeah.
it's basically an Oracle, right?
I'll just make my third command center at the gold base. It's like, all right, man, you lunatic. Does this work?
I don't know.
There's a
I think
reason
it
why
depends.
we have not seen this in, I want to say, years and years in GSL.
It depends on what Dark does, but you know, maybe Kira is making a read here from game number 1 and game number 2, where Dark has been playing relatively passively so far, and if that seems to be the MO from Dark coming into this one, maybe Kira can get away with a really greedy third command center on the low ground, but we basically never see this in TVZ. I mean,
Yeah.
even in TVP and TVT, the only time you usually build this command center is when you're going for a really big push, and you know that you're going to be putting your opponent in their quadrant of the map and keeping them there for the next couple of moments. Interesting play coming out from Cure. And
Does the Overlord see it?
I think it does.
It does. Okay, I was gonna say, you know, there are some of these plays, especially at like the highest levels, where you're so caught up in what you're doing, you're like, it doesn't really matter what they do as long as I get to where I need to be. But to see a third command center out like that, I want to know, because there's only one, like, or there's only 2 ideas that work. One is that like you attack them immediately and punish this. The other is that you expand again immediately. So we're gonna find out what that is in a moment.
But you know, there could be a little bit of a meta game for Cure as well, knowing that the Overlord's probably going to spot this third base and maybe trying to bait an attack, because, you know, as long as it completes, and it was started very early, you're just going to lift it back into the main base, and then you have Banshees in production, as that has been the second choice here for Cure.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say, is like Banshee's coming out. It's kind of like that Corsair, not Corsair, Oracle, where you can use that at your third base to kill, you know, any Lings that might attack, like your one Adept and your Pylon and your Nexus over there. Well, it seems like Dark is going to go the route of out-greeting the greedy player. He's going to get a 4th right away over here. He's got 1-1 coming as well.
Yeah, first game, I think that Dark's actually ahead of Cure in the upgrade timings. So that's going to be a comfortable position for him in this game. And still only 4 Marines on the map. Okay, there are 2 barracks in production. For a second, I was like, wait, are we... There's no way that Cure goes in that Cure, right?
Now we're going to see like, oh no, it's Terran making a 4th command center at the 4th base. This is where you find out the show is all staged and all the writers are on strike in Hollywood, and so we have to like make this game up as we go along. It's the worst story ever.
Cure just like starts turning all these command centers into planetary fortresses, and like Dark like just like pretends like he doesn't know how to actually break through that.
Exactly. It's like, and now we find out there's a unit that neither race had made yet, but it's going to be used now. So 2 Banshees here to try to get some damage.
Yeah, as of yet, not really able to find anything. Just kind of playing a passive role so far as Cure powering up. I think going up to 5 barracks now and a 4th command
get the
center.
drone, please!
Just missed it.
Oh, she's going to kill the hatchery. He's like, that's what I meant to do, tasteless.
Actually is more value there. You force to
Yeah,
cancel.
that is
75
better.
minerals. And Cure once again going for a 4th CC, this time also on the low ground.
Oh, all right, sorry. This was in the script, okay.
This is crazy,
Well,
actually.
honestly, the 4th base of this map, it's like right at your 3rd, so.
I know, but still, the fact that it's on the low ground
I
like
want to have
this.
to see the 4th base right in the lower middle, that base
The
right
middle
there.
one?
Yeah, it's facing him.
But normally, you throw it on that 4th base between the natural expansion and the 3rd. It kind of creates a choke point. It's easier to defend there. You don't have to cover that area with siege tanks or with bio. It's a lot easier to play, but yeah, Dark is just, or Cure, excuse me, playing very greedily here, and you got to think that Dark at some point is going to say enough is enough and try to turn the aggression on. He's sitting at only 68 drones and has been pumping a ton of Lings, as well as getting Baneling speed underway and morphing some Banelings back at home. So he certainly is setting up for aggression should he desire to go into it, but as it is, just a really passive game for both these guys, and now 2 more factories in production.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Well,
And
Cure
is it going to be
oftentimes-
for tanks?
Maybe 2 for tanks and 1 for Widow Mines?
Widow Mines, yeah.
Because Cure is one of those Terrans that likes to mix in a second factory for siege tanks very early in his TVZs. A little bit more rapidly than some of the other Terran players that we have here in GSL, but I don't think I can recall a game where he went for 3 like this. I saw lift up, like he's like, you can like lift that up and like use it for scouting, bro. Like what is going on? What is going on here?
I mean, we've got ourselves a crazy macro game here. I mean, this is wild.
That's a cool setup too. I love Cure using this factory in the front to kind of make a wall in. It's almost like watching a Protoss player play with these really fast expansions on the low grounds. With Banshees kind of serving the same role as Oracles. Now we have production buildings.
By the way,
walling in.
No committed push yet from the Terran.
No, just very, very light harassment.
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure here and there. The creep spread is pretty good. He's got maybe a little bit under 40% of the map covered. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting a real crazy build-up here. I mean, I would imagine around 10 minutes the action's going to actually start. But sometimes you have these games where it is a back and forth. And in this game, it kind of became an arms race. Ooh. They're both just powering up.
Ultralisk Cavern coming out for Dark, as well as 3 Vipers. That makes me think he's going to be going for a bust here. I don't think... I'm getting a suspicion that Dark is feeling Cure is going for this ultra late game TBD style with how greedy he's been playing, how passive he's been. And Cure right now is even ahead on workers compared to Dark, is able to take down this hatchery. And I think that Dark might be going for the play that is designed to just absolutely break this position before Cure is able to assemble an army that simply can't be toppled. And especially if he's aware that it's going to be as heavy on siege tanks as it is. Just keep in mind, Cure did go up to 3 factory siege tank at some point. Now, maybe Ultras with a ton of Lings just flooding in is the path to victory here.
So, I mean, here we're at it, man. Here we're at. It's 10 minutes has been hit. Both sides are maxed out. We've got a small drop that's going to come over here. He probably wants to get some of the supply out to maybe make some more factory units. I can imagine you get 3 factories and then... but this really didn't do anything at all.
No, but Cure's economy has been so powerful. I don't even think he minds losing these units too much. And a 4th factory being produced. This is kind of crazy. 4th factory, 3 more command centers, Ghost Academy under production, plus 3 infantry weapons also underway here for Cure. He's investing so much into his infrastructure right now, and you know, he just seems very content to sit on these 5 bases. These 9 or 10 Vespian geysers, however you want to count that high yield one right here in the middle.
Yeah.
And just play the defensive game. You know, it's almost like some of the styles that we see from Maru sometimes in late game TVZ. That's what Cure is doing right now, is he's just trying to get into a position. Look at this siege tank setup as well. You know, right behind these mineral lines, you got to go all the way around all of these buildings and also those bases to try and get in on those. As Zerg and Dark right now, he's sitting at a very good bank. His economy is healthy, but I'm a little worried that should he start to attack into this, he's not going to be cost efficient enough to continue to sustain. It's going to really come down to this first engagement.
It almost seems like there's not a real plan to attack here from Cure. It feels like this is actually just a game where he's going to just stay back and kind of seal himself off and try to kind of run the clock, so to speak, and kind of make this the Zerg's problem. But, you know, Dark is now maxed out. Dark is now expanding in both corners of his control of the map, one here, and then there was one in the lower left. I don't know if we put it on camera, but yeah, they're going to show it now. So, I mean, I don't think I've casted a game quite like this where there was never an attempt to end the game from the Terran's perspective, and instead you're going to kind of play single player and make them figure it out. But it seems like Dark has kind of become wise to that. And so I think the way the game's going to go from now is Dark is going to start to try to hammer these bases. This is like, it's the last level of the campaign for Terran, where it's like, all right, everything the Zerg has, we're going to try to come through here with.
Yeah, this is the window now for Dark, is when he has this big difference in economy.
But you know, you look at where the tanks are, kind of in the middle of the center of the map, where Terran control, as far as Terran's concerned, their control. There's like a bunch of tanks in this like weird base that sticks out in front of it, and it's a lot of artillery that can kind of hit stuff, and the command centers can lift, and the infantry can run away, and then he can come back into that.
Yeah, it's a very difficult position to breach, and you know, Dark, up until this point, he was sitting at a very healthy bank compared to Cure relatively, and he's even been able to kill some SCVs. But these pushes have not been cost-effective at all. A lot of Banelings have gotten traded out, and these attacks like this one coming in.
That's the tanks I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setup.
It's kind of crazy. I think he might have to go Broodlord.
It seems like Dark's thinking the exact same thing, just starting his Greater Spire.
There is that thing we call like the problem of the quadrant for Terran. Like Terran usually can't get more of a quadrant on the map, although we've seen Morrow get like half the map and play it out. Dark is going to just wrap around. He's taking the second to last base on the map. He's going to take the last in a second here. I really am having a hard time calling this right now, but it's clear that, you know, Terran has no ambitions of like coming across the map and really killing stuff. In fact, some of the stuff that is ever attacking out on the map, it almost seems like it's basically there because you need to free up supply for other stuff in late game. We got a high sec auto tracking finishing here. We're getting like all the kind of end game upgrades.
Yeah, Cure right now sitting on 15 goes, but you know, one of the advantages of taking this middle base is you're actually able to start to extend forward like this. And that's so many goes.
Oh
Viper's getting sniped out. Ultralisks as well. The Banelings do have a nice connection there on the ghost count. A couple of them went down, but I mean, the Terran machine it feels unbreakable at this point, and with Cure securing 2 more gas geysers now at the 6 o'clock position, this is a very scary position for Zerg. And I think if it was anybody else other than Dark, I would say this game is just completely lost from Zerg's perspective. But we have seen Dark play some absolutely miracle late game TVZs. It's specifically with Infestor Broodlord.
It's funny because when we first saw this style, it was like, oh my gosh, like how is the Terran going to survive? The Zerg has so much, but as we've kind of matured and become wise to this meta, it does seem like actually it's a little bit harder for the Zerg if the Terran just kind of stays back. And you know, the Zerg has to finally take those last few expansions, which are basically right next to the Terran. And you get a base like this, like you can mine from there, but at the same time, you know, they're going to nuke it. They're going to come out with infantry and snipe and then run away.
Yeah, and the bank right now for Dark is almost completely exhausted. Gas also non-existent as he's warping in 8 Broodlords right now. That's going to be the tech of choice, and Curie's already wise to this. He's building Thors back at home. He already has a very healthy ghost count, so that should help him handle his position quite well, and the Broodlord count has been fully revealed. Question I have is this going to be enough for Dark? Because the anti-air, it is certainly lacking at this point for Cure, but the bank for Terran is so large, and you know, eventually Cure is also going to be able to take that position in the bottom left base, especially with this hatchery also going down. And once that happens, you know, Terran's not really going to have very many money problems anymore, and even to this point, he's sitting at 91 workers. He could easily go down to something like 60 or 50, given the amount of orbital commands that he's going to be able to produce.
Looks like he can actually power down that, yeah. So I think if he can knock this off a couple times, I don't know, actually. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it more and more.
He's trading gas for minerals, basically. SCVs are dying, planetaries are dying, and yes, the planetary costs a little bit of gas, but gas is really the critical resource for both of these players right now.
Yeah, I think actually, yeah, I think you totally nailed it.
When you're coming in with Ultras and Banelings and you're taking down planetary fortresses and you're losing all of the units in the process doing it cost inefficiently, your bank's just going to run dry, and that's kind of what we've seen for Dark now. He's sitting at 149 supply. Cure is maxed with 4,000 resources in the bank, and he's comfortable enough to actually start pushing. He does not need to do this. He's winning just by playing defense, but he's in such a commanding position, and his army composition of Ghost Mech is so strong that there really isn't any stopping this push right now. There's only 4 Broodlords on the map, too. Somewhere off screen, half of them got killed.
And it seems like he sensed that moment of weakness, and so he can edge out on the map and take out these few remaining bases. If he topples this, he can then move over to the upper right.
I think this game's basically
Yeah,
done.
that's it. Wow, okay. Cure moves on. The dream is alive. Now we just got to keep our fingers crossed for TY.
3 Terrans in the top 4. As Cure basically put on a masterclass of how to play a defensive macro TBC. I mean, the greed that we saw from him was unreal. The defensive setup was immaculate and a very well-earned ticket to the top 4.
It was a smart play. You know, Cure really pulled out everything that he had. And the exhaust play, I mean, right into exhaust play. Never a push, never an attempt to end the game, just making the Zerg's problem. On to the interview now. Oh, wait.
Maybe not yet.
Who are we interviewing? Cure, okay.
이번 시즌에 지금까지 연속으로 해서 4강까지 올라가는 상황인데 김동 선수 왜 이렇게 잘해요?
You made it to 2 back-to-back semifinals.
정말 머리가 깨질 것 같았는데
You've been playing incredibly this year.
그래도 열심히 한 만큼 좀 결과가 나와서 다행인 것 같아요.
When I was practicing, I had so many headaches. So I'm kind of surprised it came out as well as it did when the actual matches arrived. You don't seem to be nervous, by the way, Cure. Is that true?
맞춤식으로 준비하는데 잘 통해서 좀 주도하면서 해서 좀 제 마음대로 되니까 긴장이 좀 덜 됐던 것 같고.
Against Protoss and Zerg, things went as I expected. It went pretty easily.
4강에 지금 이 조성주 선수 기다리고 있는 상황인데 결승전에서 아쉽게 좀 패배하면서 지금 갚아줘야 될 것들이 굉장히 많잖아요.
Anyways, I just had to prepare well for the semifinals.
지금 4강 올라가는데
Your next opponent is going to be Maro, who beat you in the finals last season. Are you ready to face off against him again?
우승하려면 어쩔 수 없이 피할 수 없는 상대라고 생각을 하고 이번에는 좀 다른 모습을 보여드릴 수 있도록 열심히 준비하고 있습니다.
Well, if I'm gonna ever win a GSL, I'll have to beat Maro, so I better be ready.
공방이업 타이밍 잡고 지뢰가 아닌 기갑병 섞어서 갔잖아요. 거기서 상계 컨트롤에 소름이 좀 돋았거든요. 본인의 컨트롤에 점수를 매겨준다면?
I was having goosebumps seeing your micro.
좀 스팀을 좀 많이 썼던 것 같은데 그래서 한 7점.
이야, 대단합니다.
그렇게 해서
10점 나오면 진짜 터지는 거예요.
He says if he would rank his micro, it'd be a 7 out of 10. That's such a pro gamer answer, by the way.
팬분들에게 각오 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Any shout-outs to the fans?
시즌에서는 태태전도 좀 좋은 모습 보여드려서 우승할 수 있는 모습 꼭 보여드리겠습니다.
This season, I'm eager to show an amazing performance in TBT. It's my weakest matchup, but I'm going to do my best to win it. Please cheer for me. All right. Wow. That is such a pro gamer answer.
It's 7 out of 10.
It's like, I have beaten the best player in the world. If I had to grade myself, it would be a C-. It's like, all right.
Yeah, you either get somebody like that kind of response from Cure, or you get somebody asking Huck like how he'd rank his control, and they I'm top 3 in the world.
I'm top 3.
It's
That's
only
right.
2 kinds of gamers.
While it is top 3, I would only say it's a 7 out of 10 for my own ability.
Oh yeah, there
both.
you go. You combined them. It's
There
the
you go.
Archon, the Archon of Huck and Cure.
That's right. Okay, so 3 Terrans in the final 4. Again, we've got a Terran left, a Zerg left, and a Protoss left. Let's see which one's going to make it. We're going to get to the elimination match after this break.
Take me right back to California, summer 18. I said I'd